Well, good morning. It's JP and Dr. B Day. It's our parenting series, and today we're going to have Mike Curran on with us. He is an attorney at law. He's had over 25 years of family law practice on top of juvenile law practice. You're going to definitely want to tune in this morning and catch what he's got to say, because directly what you do in your relationship with your child and your spouse will impact them as they go through their teen years. So tune in this morning to Dr. B and I and Mike Curran as we talk about co-parenting, families, divorce situations, and how to help your children get through those trying times. So stay with us.
Good morning.
Now, Dr. B, you got to be more.
Good morning.
Yeah,
Yes,
you got to be more animated than that. You got to give the people what they're looking for.
Got to wake up is what I got to do.
You and me both. There were a lot of crazy people out there this morning.
There was a lot more traffic. I would
That's
say
what,
that.
that's what I mean.
I don't know where everybody's going.
Thank you, Shravius.
Or what
That's
they're
my new favorite coffee.
Shravius, say good morning.
My new favorite coffee. I'm gonna boycott Starbucks.
Hey, there we go. Boycotting the Starbucks. So you like the coffee too?
I do. I like it.
It is.
Because you know I'm not a coffee drinker at all.
It is. Well, it's not very strong for one thing.
Okay.
At least for me, I like coffee a little bit stronger, but it's hot. It's got a good taste. It's smooth taste.
A smooth taste.
Smooth
Okay.
taste.
Because I'm trying to figure out what coffee's supposed to taste like, because I don't like coffee.
Well, then it's supposed to taste like something you don't like.
Okay, good. Well, it's working. Let me tell you, it's very effective.
It cuts down on the coffee drinking. Huh?
Grab a lid and a bottle of water. Get my laptop out.
I'll go for you, Judge.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll check Mike's, you bet.
JP, do you have a credit card with you today?
I do.
Okay. If the question is, do I have my square in the car? If my bookkeeper called last night and said, I've got to pay Tracy for.
There's no cold ones.
That's fine. I don't need cold.
You want?
No, I'm good.
I just need to keep my teeth from staining.
There you go. When your daughter saw Tracy,
Yeah.
I forget that. So. Oh, man. I tell you what, there are some, you expect some people when they are in the field and trained, you expect them to have good sense on things.
Oh. You're finding different?
Well, sometimes, yeah. Just remember we're on camera. So, anyway, let me plug that in for you. Callie has really blossomed, hasn't she?
You know, she has. She has.
I
I
like
think
she's a nice girl.
she is a nice girl. I'm glad that we brought her along. I think she compliments us well. All right. Tomorrow we've got our Hero of the Week, which is way cool. Let's see. We got our family freebies we need to work on. Tomorrow probably needs to be pretty exceptional because we're not giving anything away.
Yeah, you mentioned that you had a lot of stuff going tomorrow.
We do. We've got Hero of the Week, small business. We've got Johnny Hendricks, the UFC world champion.
Right.
We added him into that, and we've got our chef. I got to confirm with our chef. All right, we've got 2 minutes. All right.
Have you done a mice check
I
already?
don't have you on.
Oh,
Now you're good.
are you ready for a mic check?
Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. He may have gone to it, Mike Curran,
Maybe that's
because I told Mike to call in. All right. We've got Facebook up.
Is this Mike?
Mike, careful with the door.
Good
Hey,
morning.
good morning.
Come on in.
How are you, man?
Fine, Jen. You doing okay?
I'm good. You made
Hi.
it in, huh? Grab a seat
Just
right there.
right here.
And a set of headphones there.
Move that coffee out of your way.
And there's donuts and coffee
You want
if you
some
need
coffee?
to wake up.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
Thanks for coming in,
I
man.
don't know what it is.
You ready to talk about divorced families and how to help these people get through life?
You look great, man.
Hey, thanks, man. It's a
Really-
job. It's
you
work.
look
It's fun.
Really good.
Ken Bateman.
Oh,
I'm
I'm sorry. Kim Bateman, Mike Curran.
Mike, nice to meet you. Thank you for advertising with us.
You bet.
All right, we've got we got it in 1 minute. So if you want to put your headset on there, Mike, make sure when you speak into the microphone.
Did you do a mic check?
So when it's time to speak, we'll speak into the mic directly.
Yes, sir.
When it's time for us to be talking to each other, make sure you're speaking into the microphone. You have a tendency to want to do this because you're wanting to look at everybody. That's just
Okay.
natural.
Okay.
So stay on it. And if you see me do this, that means I want you to shorten your answer and throw it back at me.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And there's coffee and donuts if you'd like them. Check 1 2 3. Check 1 2 3.
All right.
Well, good morning, Dallas, Fort Worth. It's JP, Dr. B, and Callie. Callie is on location this morning, but by golly, Dr. B is in the house, and we are super excited because this is our Wednesday parenting series. And you know, Dr. B, I was telling you before we got started this morning that I'm doing a parenting class now on Monday nights. And of course, Monday we were off, and so Tuesday I did the parenting class. And I just really enjoy the class, and the parents seem to enjoy it. Of course, I've got a captive audience, so... but they really do seem to enjoy being in the class.
Well, they've got to enjoy, or you might just put them in jail.
Right, that's what I mean, captive audience, right?
But, you know, really, JP, I think people are hungry. Parents are hungry to know how to be better parents, and especially if they've had some challenges. And who hasn't? If you're a parent, you haven't had challenges, you're not doing it right.
Boy, and that's the truth. And to help us get through some of those challenges today, and hopefully I've told this gentleman, he and I have been friends now for 26 years. Mike, can you believe we've been friends for 26 years?
It's hard to believe that you've been a judge.
For 26, I know, it's been crazy, but you know, we've got Mike Curran in the house. He is an attorney at law at a McKinney, Texas family law practice and a juvenile law practice. And Mike, thank you for joining us this morning.
Pleased to be here.
So we're going to talk today about parenting. We're going to talk about going through the divorce process and how Mike sees it from his end when he has parents on both sides. We're also going to talk about how it impacts the kids and get some advice from Mike on how can we as parents act better through that process. And I'm hoping that he even has a story that he can relate to us in regards to watching, sadly, a parent get divorced and then having their teenager and having to defend them in a criminal lawsuit and the impacts that that divorce may have had and the way that you may be acting during that divorce process. And so that's what we have coming up this morning. We also are going to talk, of course, with Lori. The choice as always is yours because we want to make sure that we send you off today with the inspirational thought. And then, of course, Callie is not here, so I will fill in and do the weather for her. You know, Dr. B, I've been wearing a bow tie lately.
I noticed that, and you do look dapper.
Oh, dapper.
Dapper.
Oh, I tell you, I think you may have had to say that. But, you know, that bow tie thing was a New Year's resolution. I wanted to learn how to tie one. And it's funny because people will walk up to me and go, oh, your clip-on's really cute. And I'm like, that's not a clip-on. Nuh-uh. And I'm like, yeah-huh. And so I'll show them that it's a tied bow tie. And they're like, how did you do that? I could never learn to do that. I said, could you learn to tie your shoes? Yes. I said, well, there you go. They go, yeah, but everything's Velcro. I said, well, yeah, point well made.
Yes.
I said, well, I guess bow ties are on their way to going Velcro, I guess, at some point.
Well, that could be, but no, I noticed, and I can tell a difference usually in whether a person has tied it themselves or whether it is one of those clip-ons. So.
Well, I tell you what, so Troy Duncan comes to mind.
Yes.
So you know, this morning I'm going to be our on-point Troy Duncan this morning.
All right.
And share the weather. Of course, you want to make sure you tune in tomorrow for sure because we have a champion UFC champion Hendricks, Mr. Hendricks, come Big Rig Hendricks Sharavius. Well, I tell you, I'm excited. You should go get a big rig. Yeah, I want to see that. We'll definitely get that on our YouTube page for sure. I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'd like to see Big Rig Hendricks and what are they going to call you? Big Blog? Big Jackson. Big Jackson. Go at it. So tomorrow you want to stay tuned for that's a special guest that we're going to have on Point. And so that's kind of exciting. Also tomorrow is our Family Freebies Day where we tell you where you can go this weekend and find some really cool family freebies. And Dr. Bateman and I, we always break out the swords and the pistols because we try to duel our way into your households and help you out. Yeah. You know, I was being artistic. Could you not tell I was being poetic? Were you not feeling the poetry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you have it. There you have it. And folks, we want to thank Krispy Kreme because they do provide us with all of our coffee and donuts for our guests in the morning. And it ends up bleeding over to other people's shows where it helps them out as well. And so we want to thank William out there. In fact, he has just had a new baby boy. And we want to congratulate him and his wife. Of course, I don't know how being a donut man and a father works together. I bet that the wife is pleased. Because, you know, as a donut guy, you got to be up at like crazy 3 o'clock in the morning to crack that flour open. And so I bet she gets to sleep and he gets to feed the baby. What do you think?
She hopes anyway. Huh?
Yeah, she hopes, right? So, yeah, tomorrow we got family freebies tomorrow. Also, don't forget that we do our Hero of the Week. And I'll tell you what, tomorrow's Hero of the Week separates herself from the rest of the pack, I think. I mean, we've had some great heroes, whether it's veterans, whether it is police officers. Tomorrow, we will have our first nurse on the air.
Yes.
And our first medical professional. And
she is exceptional.
Oh, man, what she did is amazing. You talk about being trained to be that first responder. Folks, she did it at I-30 in George Bush, and if you can put that together with what I'm talking about, you know it had to be amazing. And so you're going to want to tune in tomorrow. That is always brought to you by BarnesWDS.com. That's Barnes Waste Disposal. They do a great job for their customers because customers come first in their eyes. Well, folks, when we come back, we're going to crack open the conversation with divorcing parents and parents that are thinking about divorcing and how it impacts the children and get Mike Curran's input on how on earth you might be able to avoid that or at least make it a better transition for your kiddos. We'll be right back. We're 6:20 a.m. KEXB. Man, good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm all right, man. Trying to make it a
This
world.
is all new to me.
Isn't it fun though?
He says he doesn't know yet.
Yeah, we'll see.
So when we come back, let's stories. Man, if we can toward not this segment. This segment will be our biggest segment. What I've done is I've actually shortened our first segment, and I use that first 8 minutes now as a means just to introduce what we're going to be doing for the day and the next day. Because most people are not tuned in from 6 to 6:06, 6 to 6:08. They're getting up right now. They're turning their phones on because a lot of people have told me that they're listening on their phones while they're getting ready.
Yeah.
And so what I find though is people are really starting to tune in by 6:10, 6:12. So our biggest segment now will be from 6:10 to 6:30. We will actually go for like almost 20 minutes, 18 minutes straight. And so during that time frame, I want to talk about, have you had any experiences, Mike, where you've been able to talk the parents out of divorce and they reconcile?
Oh,
like they've come to you and said, hey, we're talking about getting a divorce. We want to hire you to represent us. We want to make this thing smooth.
yeah. I mean, it's not that often, but yeah, of course.
Okay, so we want to talk about a little bit about that. We want to talk about what you see when families come into divorce and what you try to convey to them.
Okay.
Especially when they have kids involved.
Sure.
While at the same time still advocating for your client.
Okay. And one other thing is, I see what parents do to kids out of their own selfish needs or whatever, and how this particular one parent who ends up with custody will try and turn the kids against the non-custodial parent, and how that just, by the time the kids get into their late teens, early 20s, it just turns on them. and the kids end up resenting that parent for doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to go to that.
You know, things like that. I mean, the stories will just pop up.
And just throw them out there.
As you make your points or whatever.
Yeah, and just throw those stories out. I mean,
Okay.
just say, hey, JP, we got a story. I've got a story for that.
Yeah.
And then go into the story. I mean, because people need to hear this. What we're doing
You
is,
want me to call you JP and you call you Doctor?
you can
or
call
Dr.
me
Bishop.
Judge. I can't call me Judge. So
Okay.
if you feel more comfortable saying Judge, because you've known me as,
No, well, I mean that's more comfortable with me. I mean,
yeah, you just call me
I
Judge.
just-
You're fine. I just can't do it.
Okay.
Because the Commission on Judicial Conduct will say that I'm trying to use my title to influence
Okay.
listeners.
Right.
But you can call me Judge,
Okay.
but
right,
I
right.
can't.
Right.
And
you
I'm
want me to call-
Dr. B. Yeah.
Just call you Dr. B.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or whatever else you
No,
think
no.
of. I've been called a lot of things.
He's been called Callie even.
Mm. Yeah, that's right.
Do what?
Say John and Ken.
John and Ken.
That would work too. Yeah.
Hey, do you know when Mike's commercial pops up? Curran? Mike Curran, attorney at law. Callie does his commercial. It's a good commercial. Okay. Okay. I want to make sure you hear your commercial. It sounds
Oh.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Kelly
Sounds
did a
real
good
good.
job.
So we'll do that for the first big segment, which is this next segment.
Okay.
Then when we come back from the break, I'll do Lori and I'll do weather.
Uh-huh.
And then we're going to jump into. Here we go. Well, good morning. Welcome back to JP and Dr. B. I'll tell you what, I'm super excited. Had a great parenting class last night. I have a really good group of parents, and they are engaging. And of course, we try to make this thing a little bit humorous, and I share a lot of mom stories because my mother is she's not dead, she's with us. Is an amazing woman, and she did a great job with my sister and I, and so we had a lot of fun last night. But we want to jump into Dr. B and Mike. We want to jump into what is going wrong, right? Our society, divorce rates are up tremendously since the 1950s. I don't know, Mike, if you know what the statistics are on that, but I know that they've gone up tremendously over the years. We have two parents that can't reconcile and can't get along, and they have a child in the middle. What are some of the things that you see as they come to you and want to hire you to represent them in their family situation?
Well, I mean, one thing of note is single parents end up with children that have a higher rate of juvenile delinquency, a higher rate of drug use, and it crosses all socioeconomic lines. In fact, for many years, the 32 years I've been doing this, it's not at all uncommon for me to represent in the juvenile justice system children that come from very wealthy families. And it's really sad because these parents are just not equipped to take care of, to prevent that from happening.
Well, and do you find that there's a lot of lack of co-parenting that goes on between the two parents?
Oh, absolutely. And this sad part about it is it's all about being selfish and using the children as pawns during the divorce process and post-divorce. And it's first thing that I tell parents that come in to see me is that they need to start getting along, because they're going to be stuck with each other until, well, way after the children are 18, but certainly until they're 18 years of age. And it's just critical for the children and their well-being for the parents to get along.
Absolutely. Mike, the truth of the matter is they are for the rest of their life, because I encourage parents in my counseling practice that, you're divorcing each other as adults. You're not divorcing your kids. And one of the saddest things that I see in the practice is when one parent just kind of abandons their responsibility as a parent after the divorce. Or, as you said, if one of the parents is working on alienating the child from his parent, his or her parent, and then later in life it comes back to bite them. The kids resent that.
Absolutely, Doctor. It's really sad. Many, many times, and a lot of the judges and other attorneys see this very frequently, is you'll have the custodial parent after the divorce to try and alienate the children from the non-custodial parent and say all sorts of horrible things about their mom or their dad. And just as a power play, and it's just very selfish, but 100% of the time that I've seen it, and when you're around long enough, these children, when they get to be their late teens or early 20s, end up having tremendous resentment for that custodial parent for lying about, what the other parents did, or what a terrible person that they are. And typically, when the kids realize what that custodial parent has done to them, for the rest of their life, they end up having tremendous resentment against that parent, and sometimes will just abandon that parent, and it's really sad.
Sure, they feel like they've been misled. When I think about single parents and single parenting, I think that there are kind of like four classes of single parents. I don't know if you've thought about this or not, but I see divorce, of course, as being a single parent. I see people who are widowed or widower. Death has caused single parent. Seen parents who were never married, and so the person has a child and takes care of it by themselves. And then one of which I think is almost more tragic is the person who's married but acting as a single parent, where one of the spouses, one of the parents has decided just not to be active at all. And I don't know if you've seen that or not, and I think their reaction to their children is often different in those areas.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's sad. We require people to get a driver's license in order to drive, but nobody has to get a license to be a parent. And
it should be required.
Yeah. That's a truly scary thought, because there's just a lot of irresponsibility.
So when you see in your law practice and you recognize that these one or the other of the parents is trying to alienate, speak negatively about the parent, how do you try to intervene as an attorney with them?
Well, I mean, when they first come in to hire me, I have a very long speech, so to speak, with the parent, and letting them know how important it is that they co-parent, and how this is going to affect their children. And I tell them about the incidents of drug use and juvenile delinquency, and encourage them to get into a faith-based counseling with that parent. And the judges in Collin County, I think we have some of the best district court judges in the state of Texas, and so they're very sensitive to these types of issues, and there's very little tolerance for that sort of behavior.
Well, absolutely, and of course, when you have a couple's divorcing, usually the attachment to that child by one or the other of them is lacking, and creates more problems. I think I read not too long ago, I'm trying to remember the lady's name, who was writing on divorce, and she says 50% of all children from divorced homes have either emotional, legal, or relationship problems in their lifetime. Now, of course, somebody said, well, that means 50% don't, but I'm not sure I believe that. I think all children of divorce are impacted.
Absolutely. And once again, like I said earlier, it does cross all socioeconomic lines.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, absolutely. If they can begin to work on their issues previous to that point where they're breaking up, going to court, it makes a big difference. Unfortunately, many couples don't do that. By the time a couple seeks marriage counseling, they've probably been having trouble between 6 months and a year, and there's been tension, and they haven't done anything about it. And sometimes they choose not to do counseling at all and just go directly to the courts.
Mike, pipe in on that. What's your thoughts on that? Some pre-divorce counseling. You know, we do pre-marriage counseling, but we really don't do pre-divorce counseling. You know, Dr. B, I mean, and I'm going to ask you after Mike responds to that if there is such a thing, if we need to create that. But Mike, what do you think about that as an attorney? Would you rather these guys go to counseling first for a while, knowing they're going to get divorced, and try to work through that stuff with the kids?
Well, absolutely. I think it's an excellent idea. Divorce is a very difficult thing to go through. I tell this story all the time. I had been doing family law practice for 18 years when I divorced the mother of my children. And it was a very emotional thing for me to go through. And my legal assistant at the time, in the midst of this divorce, said, "Mike, you're acting like your clients."
Wow.
And so, I mean, you know, even though this is what I did for a living, you know, it's very difficult, even for me, to distance myself emotionally from the entire process. And so, you know, I recognize all the problems and going through it, but yet I was unable personally to
Separate it out.
handle it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, folks, we've got a listener that's written into us on our Facebook page, Dr. B. Devona says, you know, what he's talking about right now is stuff like that breaks my heart big time. These kids need extra love and support. I mean, they probably have witnessed fighting and some really ugly actions in the home. The kids need to be wrapped up in safety and comfort, not anger and hate. And Mike, do you see a lot of that? Do you see a lot of anger and hate that comes out of all this process?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, there's nothing in the litigation process that brings out the worst in people than a contested custody fight. I mean, they'll lie under oath, they'll do and say anything, using, once again, the children as pawns in the process.
Yeah, that's terrible. Devona, thank you for piping in this morning and listening to us and being a part of that. I mean, it's just a crazy time out there for folks that are going through this. And Dr. B, you know, do we have anything? You know, I know that when I got married, I married a person that was in the Catholic Church. And the Catholic Church requires you to go through the premarital counseling prior to being able to get married. Do we have a pre-divorce counseling where we make the families go through counseling before they go into the divorce? Not necessarily counseling them on fixing the marriage, but on counseling them on how to get through the divorce and not impact their children.
There is not necessarily a specific course, although I do believe there are a lot of therapists, myself included, who do what we call divorce counseling. And again, the whole purpose of that is to try to help the couple to figure out, look, you're divorcing each other and how to have the least impact on the kids possible. Again, I want to emphasize that in my opinion, it's not possible to have no effect on the kids. They are going to have some negative effect on them in divorce, but talking to them and getting them to the parents and talking about, okay, how do we solve this issue and how do we resolve issues? There are in Texas parent coordinators that work with families after, I guess that's after the divorce has been granted or talked about, whether they go to court, trying to help parents co-parent, and there's a big emphasis on that. But as far as a standard or you need pre-divorce counseling, there's not such a thing.
You know, Mike, as the district courts, I know that they have a class that they'll require the parents to go through, right?
Absolutely. Excuse me. They require them to complete a parenting course before they'll grant the divorce. Typically, I mean, not in every case, and not with every judge, but it's an excellent idea to have something at the very onset of the divorce process where both mom and dad are going to some sort of counseling.
You know, I just think that, you know, in thinking about it, and I know that it's crazy that, you know, I get these epiphanies, Dr. Bateman, and I can't shut my mouth. I just kind of blurt them out. My mother always said that I had a problem with that when I was even a kid. In fact, sometimes it would take the back of her hand for me to shut up because I wouldn't be quiet. But, you know, I came out of a divorced scenario, and of course on our end, my biological father was a mental health issue and a truly a risk. He had criminal tendencies that turned into criminal acts, and was pretty violent and very, very schizophrenic and used drugs and things of that nature. And so from that standpoint, my mother tried to shield us from that as much as possible. You know, our listener piped in and said that she's in an ex situation and her dad has no participation. And so when we come back from the break, we're going to go to break here in about 3 or 4 minutes, and I want to keep on the line we're on. But when we come back, Mike, I want to talk about when they get divorced and the divorce is done, the parent that just disappears, and then how should that other parent act during that time frame? You know, I think that this listener here has a great point. Like I said, her dad, the little girl's dad, won't call, won't talk to her, won't visit, lives in another country, and has no idea that mom is putting Christmas presents under the tree with dad's name on it, so that she believes that dad's participating and trying to make it seem as if dad is trying to be a part of her life. You know, is that good or is that not good? And, you know, we need to probably talk about that, because I know she's listening, and I know it would help her one way or the other. And so, and I understand the concept, but is it a good thing, really? So we'll get that when we come back from the break. But, you know, Mike, and staying on our line here, what do you find gender-wise? Does it cross both genders? Is it male and female that act ridiculous, or do you find it more in one over another?
No, it crosses gender lines. In fact, once again, I think we've always had excellent district court judges in Collin County, and our judges were non-gender biased as early as the late 80s, and it was not at all uncommon for me to be getting custody for dads in the late 80s, and certainly now there's just no gender biased on the part of the judges.
So what we see then, though, is the hatefulness. I mean, is the hatefulness and the anger pretty equal on both sides?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, equal opportunity haters, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And you never know when the couple comes in exactly who it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, folks, we're going to go to break real quick. When we come back, we'll have some weather, and the choice, as always, is yours. We want to inspire you. And so you're with JP and Dr. B, and we've got Mike Curran, our special guest. We always want to thank our sponsors. Mike Curran is one of our sponsors, and we want to thank him for helping us get on the air and get this message out to you, because we know how valuable this is. And Dr. B and I, we are here to help rebuild that American quilt one patch at a time. And that, to us, folks, is a family. And so we want to put you guys back together and help you get through some of the hard times. So you're on KEXB 620 AM with JP and Dr. B. What do you think, Mike?
Sorry, I mean, I'm just not.
You're doing great.
You're doing great, yeah.
Oh, Mike, he's talking to you. Put your...
Sure.
Because I know I'm not a parent.
Yeah.
But of course, this information, I would like to know, but I'm pretty sure there are parents or soon to be parents out there, want those information. And there are questions out there. So if you could, without exposing too much about the current claims, go a little bit deeper for me.
Sure. Okay.
No pressure.
No, just to go into some specific stories.
Yes, sir, you could.
Sure.
Now, on this next segment, I want us to talk about what I had said about what Devona is doing. Because Devona's like, I'm trying to make it where her dad is a part of her life, even though he's not, because she's young. Danielle is still 5, I want to say, 5 or 6. And she'll have to call dad to get dad to call and talk to the daughter. So I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about some specific examples.
Okay.
Like he's talking about, where you have seen these kids at young age with divorce, and then they call you back to represent them in the juvenile court as a defendant. And did that divorce have an impact on how that child went?
Okay.
And how those parents acted.
Okay.
Because one of the things I'm calling this segment is mirror, mirror on the wall. And last night during my parenting class, I told the parents, I said, you better be careful, because mirror, mirror on the wall may not be you looking in a mirror, but maybe looking right at your kid. Because that child is a deep reflection of who you are.
Okay.
And so...
Okay.
You okay with that?
It's just, I don't have any specific stories to tell on kids whose parents have abandoned them. I see it all the time, but I mean, I don't deal with the fallout of that.
Well, maybe the abandonment of the emotional abandonment.
Yeah.
Where you've watched what they've done and you know that impacts the child, and then you've seen them later on in the juvenile court.
Yeah. Okay.
Whether it be drug usage or what have you.
Okay.
Do you have anything
But
like that?
The direct correlation
I
is
don't-
hard to draw there.
Well, because they don't have to hire Mike. They can go ahead and hire
Yeah.
You know, actually, if it had been me, I'd have hired Matt Geller anyways and not hired Mike. So. You understand?
As would a lot of people.
You understand? Back in the day, you know, Mike and Matt and Philip Grubbs were like the only three attorneys that supported me when I was 18.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys have been there since the
They
beginning.
went way back.
Yeah.
Well, and Matt and I used to do the JP thing.
So we go back. Man, those are the pillars of me, man. Those guys are great.
So he's your fault, huh?
Hey, I sent you Lori's memories. Did you see it on your email? Okay. Shoot, I'm sitting here talking and visiting. I gotta look up the weather. Yeah, it's cold. It's way cold. It's super cold. Okay. Yeah, that's the inspiration. All right, 30 seconds, everybody. So tomorrow we're showing some snow, or is that rain? Maybe. There's precipitation, it's saying. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, out there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. If you're on your commute, thank you for tuning us into your radio. If you're in the house on your cell phone or your iPad, or as I used to say back in the olden days, so if you're olden days like I am, your PDA. Does everybody remember that? Everybody remember the PDA? Oh, the new version. Okay, yeah, but the Palm Pilot, remember that? That was the big deal, man. I had a Palm Pilot. I was like, I was cool. It wasn't a cell phone. Palm Pilot was like an organizer. It was like this super cool, way cool, early tablet kind of thing. I did like that. PDA was the coolest thing I ever had. So if you're out there listening to us, thank you for joining us. Thanks for sharing your first cup of coffee with us as we have sat here and drank some Krispy Kreme coffee ourselves. Just real quick, let's go over your Dallas weather. Coming up today, it should be, it's currently 36 degrees, mostly cloudy outside. The wind's at 5 miles per hour. We have a humidity ratio of 82%. No precipitation this morning. Today, Wednesday the 20th, you should have 51 degrees as your high, 47 degrees as your low. But tomorrow morning, expect it to be a little bit chillier. It's going to be about 34 degrees tomorrow on the 21st of January, and expect some possible rain and showers. It'll be a high of 49 degrees tomorrow as you get ready for your morning commute. So that is your on-point weather with JP, brought to you by Krispy Kreme Donuts in Allen, Texas, right off 75 in Maine. Go by and say hi to our friend William at Krispy Kreme. So we are in the studio with Mike Curran, attorney at law out of McKinney, Texas. Mike, you're still out of McKinney, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, Mike has been practicing family law and juvenile defense law for 32 years. Is that a good...
Yes.
Did I hit that?
32 years.
32 years.
September.
And so Mike knows a few things. He's seen a few families, and he himself has had to admit, hey, you know what? I went through the same process after practicing law for 18 years, and it took his paralegal or his clerk to look at him and say, hey, Mike, wake up, buddy. You're acting like your parents. You know? And it happens. It's like Mike said, you get into it and you don't realize it, and you know, we may even be critical. What's funny is we all do that. We get critical of what other people are doing when we've done it ourselves and didn't realize it possibly. So what we're cracking, though, today is we're cracking this deal of divorcing and how it impacts your parents. And we have one of our listeners, and I'm not going to disclose who it is, who tries to make up for dad and will put Christmas presents under the tree with his name on it, and we'll try to act like dad is participating. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? We'll start with you, Dr. Bateman, and then Mike, if you'll jump in on that.
Well, actually, I do not encourage that long term, because I feel like it's setting up a false pretense for the child, and eventually they're going to discover mom or dad is doing that they are trying to represent them. And I think, you know, and again, depending on age, if the younger they are, the more I might accept that. But I think it sets up a false sense, and eventually the child wants to know why dad, or in this case we're looking at dad, why isn't dad involved? And at some point, I think they could even get to the point where they think, gee, mom lied to me about this, and may feel even worse. At least that's my feeling.
Yeah, I totally agree, Doctor. Children are smarter than we give them credit for, and once again, there's resentment later on in life when they find out that one of the parents has been lying to them. And so, well, it's not at all uncommon that I have people come in and see me for a motion for contempt on unpaid child support, where mom or dad has disappeared or just not fulfilling their obligation as a parent, at least the financial obligation. And typically in those situations where one of the parents is not paying child support, they're not seeing the child as well. And so, the custodial parent in that situation just has a really hard row to hoe with the child.
Now, Mike, so let's say that this parent is trying to cast a positive light onto the other parent and not a negative light, isn't talking that parent down. Because this person that piped in said that she makes sure that she never says anything negative about the father. And let's say the child is 14, 15 years old and figures out, Dad never sent me a Christmas present. Mom was putting them under the tree. Do you still see in your practice resentment even for that? Because, in fact, the child was lied to about that?
Absolutely. And, of course, obviously, that's the age where
Find
teenagers
out.
start acting out. And when you have the problems with juvenile delinquency and, typically substance abuse, and, that's just a very serious problem.
Folks, we want to go ahead and inspire you real quick. I know that that's kind of odd right in the middle of this conversation, but a little inspiration may go a long way. And so we want to get with Lori on The Choice As Always Is Yours. It's brought to you by Luke James Cattle Company. We don't just sell show cattle. You become a member of our family. Personalized service at competitions and advice on cattle maintenance, priced for everyone's budget. Luke James Cattle Company at lukejamescattleco.com. That's lukejamescattleco.com. Join our family. Action. Wow. How does she hit our top? I mean, remember, folks, it's 4 o'clock in the morning where she's at. So she's not up. She's recorded this the night before and has sent it to me by email. That's right on topic. Yeah. That's really good. I mean, maybe we should all act like we have a camera following us around. Well, you know what? Maybe if we all lived our life by that standard, where we thought our life was being thrown out there on the TV screen every day, maybe we would act a little bit differently.
Well, when I was a kid a couple of years ago, many years ago.
Yeah, just a couple of years ago.
The issue I remember my parents telling me is, don't do anything that you wouldn't want to see on the front page of the paper tomorrow. So nowadays it's don't do anything you don't want to see on Facebook or social media, I guess,
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, that's great on point stuff right there. Well, Mike, getting back to our conversation, which of course, that inspirational thought really fits into parents acting right and not acting the fool and embarrassing their children and upsetting them and putting them in a position to resent them. But you've got a juvenile docket as well.
That's correct.
When you're in your juvenile docket and you're having to prepare a defense, how often do you find that I'm not looking for an exact percentage because we didn't prepare you for this, because these questions just kind of come to me. So I understand if you kind of give me that look like, John, really? Do we need to talk about this off the air? How often do you find that those kiddos may come out of a divorced family?
I think it's, excuse me, I think it's well over 50% of the time that I represent a juvenile client that they're a product of divorce. In fact, I'm racking my brain right now to try and remember the last juvenile client that I had that came from a family that was not divorced.
Wow. So it's not the other way around. It's not, hey, let me think on this, John, because I really can't remember the last time I had a divorced child, but it's more the other direction.
Just the opposite, absolutely.
Wow. So folks, I hope that you're out there listening, and I hope that you're out there, paying attention, because this is important. I mean, how we are with our children is so vitally important, because, it goes back to that mirror on the wall that Dr. Bateman and I have been talking about the last couple weeks. And last night when I taught my parenting class, I told my parents, that mirror on the wall may not necessarily be you looking into a mirror, but you looking right at your child, because your child is going to mirror what it is that they have learned from you and what it is that they have become. My mother, she didn't coat anything about my biological father. She tried to protect us from him because he was dangerous, but she never coded anything. Like, we understood. In fact, when we were small, and I look back at some points, at different points in my life, and I wonder, why did she do this? But I now understand why. But he was locked up at one point in the Atascadero Mental Hospital for the criminally insane. And she took us to that hospital to visit him. And it was interesting, as a small child, experiencing that and not quite understanding what it all was. And then as I became an older child, wondering, why on earth did she do that? I resent that. I can't believe it. Then as an older adult, realizing, what? That was the reality. And there didn't need to be this unicorns and purple passion and rainbows and all that, because it wasn't true. And that truth and that reality, I think, is what really separated my ability to understand what was really going on. And like you said, Mike and Dr. B, kids are smart.
Absolutely.
Kids know what's going on. And so, you know what? I think that the truth may be the best thing that you can do to share. And again, if you're not careful, that child is going to mirror you.
Yeah, and one of the things for parents to think about when they're doing that is how that reflects on the parent, him or herself. After all, they're the ones who made the choice at some point to marry that other person. And when they did, at least it's my opinion, that most people don't marry somebody they don't think is worthy or good.
That's one of the most difficult things in my practice, is when mom or dad comes in to see me about a divorce, and they're extremely upset, and they just want to hurt the other side, and they never stop and think that they're the ones that made the decision to marry this person.
Right.
And they're stuck with them, and they've had children with them, and they're stuck with those children, and they won't accept responsibility for their actions, and that's very difficult.
Well, folks, when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about, and it's not very often, but by golly, sometimes Mike is able to create some reconciliations and not have to go through that divorce process. So maybe he can give us a couple tips on how you might be able to do that. You're on with JP and Dr. B, and we've got Mike Curran, our special guest attorney at law. We are 620 AM KEXB. Stay tuned as we come right back.
Good stuff, Mike.
Well,
You're doing great.
I feel like
You're doing a great job. Our listener, she is piping in.
Is this Devona?
Yeah, she. You guys will like this. Thank you for the advice concerning our situation here. Edwin has known every time I've done that on his behalf. I'm sure he would do it if he were here. But you guys raised a very valid point. I think I'm going to stop doing that unless he does it for himself. For a couple of years, he would send me money to get her some gifts, but the last 2 years, he hasn't done that. I think I'm done. And so I sent her a thing so she'd know that we weren't picking on her. I said, we're not picking on you, just giving out other options or possibilities. And she says, oh, no, not at all. I am beyond grateful for the input. Truly, thank you, guys. We've made a difference in someone's life.
Good. That's what it's about.
That's money in the bag right there. How exciting is that?
Well, I feel like a fish out of water.
You are. That's all right, though.
Okay.
Hey, let me tell you something. It took Dr. Bateman and I.
It took Dr. Bateman. He did it. He's just a natural guy. But
He's got a great radio voice.
yeah, doesn't he?
Thank you, Mike. I'll tell you what.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you're working hard. I appreciate you letting me live the dream. Because without you guys sponsoring this stuff, we don't get to put this show on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we pay for our airtime.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't salaried. We haven't made any
We
money.
haven't made any money
Oh,
yet.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're losing our ass.
But are you still getting that test market on the West Coast?
Yes.
Those results coming back?
Well, we haven't been put out there yet.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Not yet, but I mean, it's still there. I talked to Robin again yesterday, and she said that they are very interested and have talked to us, and so we're hoping to get to go.
that'd be great.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. I know I'm excited. I think Dr. B is way
Absolutely.
excited too. You know, the thing is that nobody does this. What we're doing, solid information for families, aimed at families, and we do it in a entertaining way because we do it in different formats.
Uh-huh.
You know, whether it's food and teaching people how to cook together as families and parents and kids, or whether it's going out and having fun with your kids on Thursdays when we give out the family freebies, or whether it's just sending you to work smiling and happy because generally, yeah. No, we're not giving anything away. Because didn't we give out our last packet? I want to say we gave out our last packet. Oh, hey, listen.
Mike, so that was a great
Pretty
ad.
good.
If you
That's a
just-
great commercial.
If
She
you
does
would
a
have
great.
just had the right telephone number.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Mike's like, yeah, if that had been the right number. Instead, you're calling Matt Geller. That's a good commercial, though.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Callie did a
Yeah,
good
it
job
is.
on that deal. So I appreciate you helping me out.
Oh, no. It's my pleasure. It's hard to believe it's 26 years.
Yeah.
I get my 25-year pen, but of course I got elected in '90, so
Yeah.
it's been 26 years. Because you've known me during the campaign.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Here we go. We've done everything, right, Ken? We've done everything, right? We did Lori, Luke James Cattle Company,
Weather. Yeah.
the weather. Okay. Well, I tell you what, great music there, Action Jackson. We couldn't have had a better song
Good choice.
picked. That's right. Let's make that heart strong, and let's make some better choices out there as parents. And we're here in studio this morning early with Mike Curran, attorney at law out of McKinney and Collin County, and Dr. B, and we are talking how to act during the divorce process, the impact you have on your children, and the fact that if you're not careful, those children may end up in the juvenile justice system. And as Mike said, in fact, he's racking his brain trying to even remember the last time he actually had a child he defended that was not a product of a divorced household. And so be real careful out there. And I think some good advice has come out as well about, hey, you know what? No matter how hard it may hurt, be honest with your kids. And I can tell you that my mother was very honest with us, to the point where, like I said, as young children, we went to the Atascadero Mental Hospital for the criminally insane. And I can tell you that, I mean, I was 6 years old, 5 years old. I mean, I was young. And that is something that burned in my mind. I never forgot. But it also helped drive me to make sure I never ended up in the Atascadero Mental Hospital for the criminally insane. So honesty is probably going to be your best policy on that deal out there. We want to talk now, Mike, and shift gears a little bit. We've heard all the doom and gloom. And by golly, you better get your bootstraps and pull those up and stop being so selfish amongst each other, and understand that you've got a child in the middle there, and that child loves both of you. Regardless of what you think of each other, that child thinks that you're both their heroes, and you got to be careful what you do in the end, because if you're not careful, they're going to resent you rather than the parent that may be absentee, or may not be as involved as you think, or may not be paying as much child support as you think. So you got to be careful with what you do on that deal. Don't put your ex-spouse down. I know that my wife and I, with my daughter, whenever it would come up, the question about, you know, where's my dad? Why isn't he calling me? My comment to her was, your dad loves you. I don't know why he's not calling you. You're welcome to call him. And we would encourage her to call him and talk to him, and encourage her to do a lot of things, and never put him down. wouldn't lie about him, but never put him down. But there's got to be those stories, and Dr. B and Mike, you both, I'm hoping, will have them, where people have reconciled, where they've gone in, where we're divorcing, we're done, but you know what? Actually, after we've talked with you and we've gotten things rolling, we've changed our mind. Mike, anything come to mind?
Well, every time that somebody comes in to hire me on a custody case, that's the first thing that I tell them is you really need to try and reconcile. A lot of times there's hurt because of infidelity or some other issues, but I strongly encourage that they get back together for the sake of the children.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I do the same when couples come in. In fact, one of the things that I do, I'll have somebody call me and say, we're having marital problems and I'm going to come in. And I always encourage you, bring your spouse with you. Because you know what, if we're working on a relationship issue, I want to work with both of them. And I've seen couples turn their lives around and, you know, like you said, even in the case of infidelity, say, you know what, I made a wrong choice maybe, but let's get this back together.
Well, I just had a couple come in 2 weeks ago, and the issue was infidelity, and the wife had been unfaithful, and Dad came in to hire me, and I encouraged them to actually go once again to a faith-based counseling session, and they did, and we put together some temporary orders, but it looks like they have reconciled, and for the sake of the children, that's just a wonderful thing. It's just a matter of Dad just getting over the hurt involved with the infidelity.
That's right. And, you know, looking at our own situations and what did we cause? How did I do that? Did I contribute to it? Was there something as the father, was there something I wasn't doing? That type of thing. And then coming back together and forgiving. I read a statistic somewhere, and I can't recall exactly where it was, but 65% of all marriages where infidelity has been an issue have stayed together. That's pretty remarkable. So because of infidelity, whether that's infidelity in the sexual realm, whether it's infidelity in the financial realm, or any other realm, you know, you can restore the marriage.
Absolutely. It's just a matter of getting past the hurt, because anger in a custody case is the worst thing, because until they can one party or both can overcome the anger that they have with each other over whatever issue might be, they can't move forward for the sake of the children. And many times the children are just lost because it's not about the kids, it's about how I feel, and that's just not right.
Yeah, about how I was treated. And as you know, JP, you have termed this segment's mirror, mirror on the wall. You know, sometimes we have to look in the mirror and say, what have I done that has contributed to the anger, to all the issues, and look at ourselves.
You know, and during that time frame, I would say that self-reflection has got to be your best friend. You've got to become your own best critic, because you're not listening to anybody else generally during that time frame because of your hurt feelings. You know, when people go through divorce, it's not a happy time, generally speaking. I've only witnessed a few people that have gone through a divorce and have actually been good with it and have been friendly and have stayed friends. And I've met a few couples over my 25 years that when they've gotten remarried, they have stayed friends and they barbecue together and hang out together. But that is the exception, the very, very small exception. That is not the rule. The rule seems to be anger and lots of hatefulness and that black hole that develops where all that stuff doesn't go away and you fester those feelings. And when you do that, it does spill out into your work. It spills out into your children, into your other relationships, and it may even make where you can't have a decent relationship after the fact.
You know, if we take our time, I don't know, Mike, about your experience. I remember an attorney colleague, he's now retired. I don't know how long he'd been practicing, many, many years, but he mentioned to me one time that several of the clients that he had helped get a divorce, and maybe he'd run into them, you know, later in life, a few years later, and how many times they had said to him, if I had only held on a few more months or weeks and not gotten the divorce.
Absolutely. I mean, I see that all the time.
Yeah, people who make the decision in a time of anger without really letting time to think about it.
That's why it's so important for them to get some sort of counseling, and I think it's an excellent idea that the counseling start earlier instead of just having a parenting class before the divorce is granted, to have some sort of counseling that lets you deal with the process.
Well, Dr. B, we may have to start up a project on that.
Absolutely.
A little project. Well, folks, I'll tell you what, we are coming to that time when it's going to be time to turn over the reins to Brian Glenn, the DFW Business Authority. He comes on at 7 o'clock this morning, and he always has a fun-packed show. In fact, he and I are going to work really hard on trying to turn AM radio into hip radio again. That talk radio, people are like, oh no, not talk radio again. Well, by golly, Brian Glenn and I and Dr. B, we're going to try and make it hip again and make it fun again. So hopefully you have enjoyed our segment this morning. Mike Curran, thank you so much for joining us and for your continued support of our show.
Thanks, Judge. Thanks, Doctor.
Good to have you here.
Folks, want to say a big hello out there to Suzanne Statler Jones. I'll get it out right. She is an old friend of mine, and we got to see each other for the first time in 25 years at a basketball game the other day. In fact, it's funny, I told her, I said, social media has let me keep up with your family, the growth of your boys, and she's like, yeah, I've got to watch your daughter grow up. So social media has been good from that standpoint. We've been able to stay connected. We got to see her the other night, and she's tuned in this morning and listening, and that's Dr. Jones, by the way. Let me correct myself. She has gotten her PhD, I believe it is, and is a professor at Collin College. And
congratulations.
And thank you for all the interaction from our listeners this morning that were on talking about our topic, and I don't want to again release any names on that. Also want to say good morning to Devona and thank her for listening, and also to Sandy down in Austin, Texas. Thank you for listening this morning, and to Kevin down in Liberty Hill, Texas, and our friends down in Houston. We had our people from Houston pipe in this morning, and I love this. Caracas, Venezuela. I love people listening to us in Venezuela.
I just think we need to do
well,
a show
necesitas
from
habla
Caracas.
español. We need to start speaking Spanish on the air. Well, folks, stay tuned for Brian Glenn, and tomorrow, don't forget, we've got UFC Big Rig Hendricks coming on tomorrow. Family freebies. What's that? You better practice. I don't think you can take him. We have family freebies tomorrow. Also, we're going to have our small business of the week come on and talk about what he does in his business and how you can get pretty. So you want to stay tuned tomorrow. Join us tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day.
Have a great day, JP. Mike, goodbye.
All right, Dr. B, you want to say goodbye to our camera and turn it off for us?
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.